Chapter 29, Stormbird. Sen, you are so fit. You must have maxed out on mutant geno points. Lin Beifong stopped climbing as he felt his arms hurting too much, while Han Sen was still climbing briskly. Hang in there. There is a rock sticking out up there, and we can go there and rest. Han Sen looked down at Lin Beifong. Sen, I can't. Shall we just go back down? You stay here. I will go up first and then pull you up with the vine. Han Sen started to climb with all fours, and he was so fast it looked like he was walking on the ground, which stunned Lin Beifong. It took a little while for Han Sen to reach the rock and use the vine to pull Lin Beifong up. The rock was the size of a table. The two huddled on the rock and looked around. The cliff was so steep and there was no way to climb if it wasn't for the vines, which only covered a part of the cliff. Sen, let's stay here for 2 days and maybe the Mamo beasts will leave if they don't see us. The cliff is so steep and I'm not as fit as you. I really can't go up, Lin Beifong said anxiously. Well, you just rest here, and I'll go see if there is a way out. If there is, I'll come back for you. If not, then we could just wait for the Mamo beasts to leave, Han Sen said and got up to climb. Sen, you will not abandon me? Lin Beifong grabbed Han Sen's clothes like a little girl. Don't worry. How can I abandon you when you owe me so much money? Han Sen patted Lin Beifong on the shoulder and climbed away. Because he had practiced ghost haunt, Han Sen was particularly good at climbing. As he was much stronger now, it wasn't too hard for him either. Han Sen climbed for a few hundred feet and still saw nothing but the cliff. The vines continued to go up, and he was wondering where their roots were. Han Sen felt a little tired and was thinking about going down. But with another look, he felt like there was a rock sticking out above him. I'll climb up to the rock above and have a look. If there is no way out, I'll just go down to eat and drink. Maybe we could outrun the Mamo beasts, Han Sen decided, and kept climbing. The stone was farther and larger than Han Sen had imagined. It was half the size of a basketball court. When he got on the stone, Han Sen's eyes suddenly widened. On the stone was a nest made with tree limbs and vines. It looked like a huge swallow's nest, almost taking up a better half of the stone. An egg at least 3 feet tall lay in the nest. Wow, such a big egg! How big would the creature that laid it be? Han Sen shuddered. The creature was not here now, but he dared not think what would happen if it came back. Being big did not necessarily means it was advanced. Mamo beasts were huge but merely primitive creatures. However, the ability to make a nest and lay an egg on the cliff proved the creature was no average creature. It could very likely be a sacred blood creature. If the egg belonged to a sacred blood creature, Han Sen would not want to miss it. After some hesitation, Han Sen approached the egg and cut a hole in the egg shell with the tip of his dagger. Fishing out a straw from his pocket, he stuck it in the hole and started sucking. Suddenly the sweet juice filled Han Sen's mouth. Sacred blood creature Stormbird's egg eaten. No sacred geno point gained. Although no sacred blood geno point was gained, the fact that the egg was indeed a sacred blood creature left Han Sen in joy. It was such a huge egg, with at most only 10 sacred geno points, that he was not surprised that he hadn't gained a point with just a mouthful. And he already had some sacred geno points and couldn't have all 10 points, so he could only get 6 or 7 if he was lucky. But sacred geno points were so hard to get that even just a few more would help. Han Sen was desperately sucking the liquid with the straw that he used to drink from his water bag when he was hiding from the creatures that he didn't have to move. It was unexpectedly handy as well for sucking the egg juice. The egg was so big that when Han Sen finally heard the cue that he was gaining 1 sacred geno point, he was so full that he could drink no more. Han Sen pulled out the straw, and then sealed the hole with mud. Putting the straw back, he descended using the vine. Sen, what took you so long? is there a way out? Seeing Han Sen coming from above, Lin Beifong, who had been worried sick, asked immediately in a low voice so as not to alert the Mamo beasts below. No. It is as steep as a mirror, and we have nowhere to go. Han Sen shook his head. Then we have no option but to wait for the herd to leave, Lin Beifong said disappointedly. It's all right. We still have some food and water left. Han Sen was really taking his time now as he couldn't finish drinking the raw egg anytime soon, and he wouldn't leave before that. They huddled on the stone to spend the night, and the next morning Han Sen climbed up to eat more egg. He made sure there was no creature in the nest before he went up and broke the seal to drink from the egg. Sen, why are you climbing up again? Lin Beifong wondered when Han Sen came down. There are sacred blood creatures above, and I was having a feast up there. Do you want to go together? Han Sen laughed. You can keep it. Lin Beifong glanced at him and didn't believe a word he said. Even if there really were sacred blood creatures, Han Sen was more likely to be their food. Chapter 30, An Empty Egg. Han Sen climbed up every day to steal some egg juice and never met a sacred blood creature returning to the nest. Han Sen thought the egg's parents might have been hunted already. But to be safe, every time he finished drinking from the egg, he would return to where Lin Beifong was instead of staying inside the nest. Lin Beifong just assumed that Han Sen was going up to find a way. When they had waited for 2 or 3 days, Lin Beifong looked down, and with the fog he wasn't sure if the Mamo beasts had left. Sen, how about we go down a bit and check if they have left? Lin Beifong couldn't handle the heat during the day and coldness at night on the cliff anymore. Let's wait for 2 more days to be safe. If they see us now and guard the place for another week, we will run out of food. Han Sen's geno points were higher, so he had heard the Mamo beasts leaving the previous night. But he didn't want to go now, as he hadn't finished the egg. Lin Beifong felt that made sense, so he held on. However, after 2 days, Lin Beifong still saw Han Sen making his daily climb. The vines only covered a small part, and if Han Sen was just exploring the way, he should have done that already, so why did he keep climbing? What is it? Lin Beifong wondered, yet he still did not believe there could be sacred blood creatures. Sen, why is it that you climb every day? Lin Beifong could not help but ask. I told you, there are sacred blood creatures, and I'm going up to eat, replied Han Sen. Would you take me with you? Lin Beifong did not believe Han Sen's words but was very curious. Okay. Han Sen smiled, grabbed a vine and started climbing. Lin Beifong followed him up, but he was so weak that he stopped halfway and asked, Sen, I've gotta stop. Where are you going? We are almost there. Wait here and I'll pull you up. Han Sen climbed up like a gecko. In a short while, Lin Beifong saw a vine thrown from above. Tying himself to the vine, he borrowed Han Sen's strength and climbed. When he reached the stone, Lin Beifong was stunned by the size of the egg. My God, such a big egg! Is it sacred blood? Yes, this is a sacred blood creature's egg. Han Sen nodded. Gee, it really is a sacred blood egg. Sen, you are amazing. Lin Beifong was pleasantly surprised. He smashed the egg with a fist and wanted to drink. Stretching his tongue out and waiting, Lin Beifong saw no egg juice flowing out and smashed a few times more, making a big hole in the eggshell. Where is the egg juice? Lin Beifong looked blankly inside the hollow eggshell. I drank it. Han Sen blinked. You drank it? Lin Beifong looked at Han Sen. A few days ago, I told you that and invited you to join me. I thought you didn't want to come. Han Sen spread out his hands. Lin Beifong regretted so much that he was ready to kill himself right then. Sen, I had no way of knowing you were telling the truth. Who could have imagined a sacred blood egg on the cliff? If I knew, I would have come, even if I had broken all my limbs. Beifong, don't worry. I'll inform you next time I find a sacred blood egg. Han Sen smiled and patted him on the shoulder. Sen, next time such good things happen, you must remember to let me know. Money is not a problem, and I promise I will never say no to you again. Lin Beifong was upset. I promise. Han Sen made such an effort to bring him up just to hear these words from him. People like Lin Beifong made great customers. Lin Beifong sighed for a while, smashed the eggshell and carried it with him. He wanted to see if he could boil some sacred Geno points from it. Not in 100 years, Han Sen chuckled to himself. When they got to the bottom of the cliff, the Momo beasts had left already, so the two went back to steel armor shelter. When they were about to arrive, Han Sen smiled and said to Lin Beifong, Beifong, my reputation is not that great here, so I won't go in with you. I'll see you around. Lin Beifong quickly said, Sen, what do you take me for? We have been through death together, and I'll kill whoever is disrespectful to you. It's fine. I have to go and want no trouble. Just enter alone. Han Sen would not believe someone as glib as him, so he waved goodbye and entered the shelter first. The Stormbird egg added 5 more sacred Geno points to Han Sen, which were fewer than he had expected, but it was a surprise in itself, so it was still great. Now Han Sen had 18 sacred Geno points. It was a shame that he didn't get a beast soul from it, but it was quite normal, since killing 10 creatures wouldn't even guarantee a beast soul. Han Sen just got lucky previously. Han Sen happily returned to his room, and was teleported out of God's sanctuary. Before he left the station, a slim figure blocked his way. Station Master. Such a coincidence. Han Sen groaned inwardly. He had totally forgot about his discord with Qin Xian. Come with me, Qin Xian said coldly, walking toward the combat room. She was upset that Han Sen had been able to hit her last time and wanted to kick his ass before she could let it go. Chapter 31, Free Training Partner. I'll just fight her. She's just a woman after all, Han Sen whispered to himself. Han Sen knew that Qin Xian would not leave him alone no matter how he restrained himself. So he would no longer do that. He had almost mastered Ghost Haunt, and it would be great for him to practice it on her. When Han Sen stood in front of Qin Xian in a combat suit, she didn't spare any effort and kicked him with a leg sweep. For Han Sen, who was good at sneak attacks, as long as he had no chance to sneak up, he was doomed to lose. Hence Qin Xian hit first and didn't give Han Sen any chance. But she had still committed a great mistake. She still didn't take Han Sen seriously enough and did not regard him as an opponent. All she wanted to do was to kick his ass. That's why she didn't use even half her strength. In her mind, he was still the ignorant-ass freak, a rookie who could be bullied by anyone in the shelter. Qin Xian did not really want to harm Han Sen, so she wasn't hitting hard. But what she didn't know was that Han Sen now had 18 sacred Geno points and was practicing Jade Skin. Although not as fit as her, the gap between them was not so big either. Seeing her leg sweep, Han Sen moved to a spot where Qin Xian couldn't reach and twisted her leg with his arms. She immediately lost balance and fell to the ground. Han Sen immediately pressed himself against her and locked her limbs down. Qin Xian hadn't expected such nifty moves from him, and when she realized her mistake, she was trapped and couldn't wriggle free. Feeling anger and shame, she struggled and failed because of the clever techniques of Ghost Haunt. If she struggled with all her strength, her arms would be dislocated or even broken. Trapped by Han Sen, she blushed and still couldn't believe Han Sen had taken her with the first move. She wanted to teach him a lesson, and everything went wrong. Station Master, did I win? Han Sen was secretly pleased. I did not expect old devil's teaching to work. I even beat Qin Xian. You will never win. Qin Xian raged and refused to throw in the towel. If it was anyone else, it might be fine. But for this despicable-ass freak, she would not bow her head. Qin Xian roared and shape-shifted into a golden lion taller than a man. Han Sen was thrown off her instantaneously, and the lion swooped down at him. Foul! We have agreed not to use any beast souls, Han Sen quickly shouted. Qin Xian paused as her lion paw was about to hit him. She did promise last time that she wouldn't use beast souls. But under the circumstances, she had completely forgotten about it. Alright, no beast souls. Qin Xian secretly blushed, took back her beast soul and launched an attack with her fist. Han Sen still hadn't completely mastered Ghost Haunt, and his fitness and experience fell short compared to Qin Xian. Although he resisted over 20 movements from her, he was still beat. Qin Xian did not say anything and turned away. In fact, she felt ashamed because if she hadn't used her beast soul, she couldn't have gotten rid of Han Senator, so she had already lost at that moment. I'm still not strong enough. My Geno points and fighting skills were not even close to hers. Han Sen knew that he couldn't have caught up with the best in steel armor shelter in such a short amount of time, while he was still a little disappointed that he couldn't even take 30 movements from her. Qin Xian was still blushing after a shower. She was truly abashed that she was put in such a tough situation by ass freak. Something is wrong. Although his wrestling skills were not bad, he couldn't have locked me down without great fitness. How did he gain so many Geno points, thought Qin Xian suddenly. She quickly called out the data collected in Han Sen's combat suit. Qin Xian clenched her lips and cursed bitterly, that bastard, he must have maxed out on his mutant Geno points already. He was just playing weak to make me underestimate him. Ass freak, I'll never make peace with you. From then on, every time Han Sen passed the teleport station, Qin Xian would always call him into the combat room. Han Sen was glad to oblige. Wrestling skills such as Ghost Haunt really need much practice, and with a training partner as good as Qin Xian, he could not really hone his techniques. Some pain was nothing compared to his gain. If it was not for Qin Xian, Han Sen could only practice when risking his life, which was far more dangerous than his fights with her. Of course, Han Sen was careful so that she didn't notice he was using her. Each time he would get on her nerves on purpose so that she would keep calling him to the combat room. Qin Xian picked on Han Sen many times but still didn't get over it. Every time she saw his smiling face, she would get mad and have an urge to beat him up. It almost became a habit of hers. Chapter 32, A Ritual Between Men. The copper-toothed beast fed by Han Sen had become purple in color and bigger in size 2 months after it had become a mutant creature. Whether I could keep rising in the world all depends on you. Please become a sacred creature soon. Han Sen looked at the purple color of its skin and thought it was about time. Judging from the situation, it would take about 3 months for a mutant creature to evolve into a sacred blood creature. This period was neither too long nor too short. It was almost impossible for most people to hunt a sacred blood creature in just 3 months. Even Qin Xian might not have been able to hunt a sacred blood creature for a year. Now with this black crystal, Han Sen could have an entire sacred blood creature to his own every 3 months, which was simply incredible. Just give me enough time, and I could easily evolve with all 4 types of Geno points maxed out. By then I will gain the title of Sacred Blood Aristocrat for sure. Han Sen was getting excited. He did not see Qin Xian at the teleport station on his way home. She could be either tired of this game or simply busy. Outside the station, he saw a girl standing at the roadside and stopped walking. It was Xuexi, the girl who grew up with Zhang Danfeng and him. Xuexi was from a single-parent family, and her mother had raised her by working at Han Sen's father's company. With no one to babysit her, her mother had often brought her to work, and she had always played with Zhang Danfeng and Han Sen. Later, Han Sen heard that Xuexi's father was still alive and found her mother and her. After his dad's incident, Hansen didn't have the energy to learn more about her family. But he did hear that she was an illegitimate daughter and her father only took her back after his wife passed away. Sen. Xueshi also saw Hansen and exclaimed. "Why are you here?" asked Hansen, puzzled. "Sen, I'm over 16 and can enter God's sanctuary now," Xueshi chuckled and said. "So fast?" Hansen was startled. In his mind, Xueshi was a little girl, and now she could even enter God's sanctuary. "I'm only a few months younger than you. Don't think of me as a child," Xueshi said discontentedly. "Indeed. How time flies." Hansen looked at her well-developed body and smiled. She was no longer a little girl. Xueshi blushed as Han Xian looked at her. When she was about to say something, there was a roar of an engine, and they saw a well-dressed young man coming down from a private aircraft parked on the roadside. The young man was about 20 years old, and that private aircraft alone was worth more than 10 million. "Sister, I said earlier to use our private teleport equipment. It's just inevitable that we should meet some annoying people at a teleport station." The young people did not even look at Hansen and went straight to Xueshi. "Brother, he is my childhood friend," Xueshi quickly explained. "Well, we should go back." The young man ignored her explanation, took her hand and led her on the aircraft. "Sen, I'll come back," Xueshi said to Hansen softly before she went. The young people returned to warn Hansen, "People like you aren't worthy to be her friend. Leave her alone or you'll be sorry." "Are you talking to me?" Hansen glanced at him. "You don't believe what I said?" The young man suddenly stepped forward, and quickly hit Hansen's lower abdomen with a knee. He was very close to Hansen, and he was incredibly fast. His knee suddenly came toward Hansen. Hansen looked calm, but secretly sneered. "Nothing is better for wrestling than ghost haunt. Even Qin Xian dares not let me get close now." Leaning to one side, Hansen avoided his knee and stuck a leg behind his leg on the ground. Hansen's also clamped the young man's neck and pulled hard. Bang! The young man suddenly lost his balance and fell to the floor. Lying on the ground, he looked at Hansen in shock and forgot to get up. He didn't expect his hit would be in vain, and couldn't believe he was pulled down by Hansen. "Sen, what happened?" Seeing things going wrong, Xueshi ran down from the aircraft and quickly helped the young man up. "Nothing, just a ritual between men. It is late and I need to go. Let's eat together sometime." Hansen smiled, waved goodbye and went to the train station. "Brother, you all right?" Xueshi asked the young man. "Interesting, really interesting." The young man watched Hansen leaving with a strange smile. Seeing the young man smiling, Xueshi was suddenly anxious. "Brother, don't pick on him. He didn't mean it. He could make me fall even when he didn't mean it. If he meant it, then would I, Fang Jingqi, be killed?" he said with his eyes narrowed. "Brother, that's not what I meant." Xueshi panicked and did not know how to explain. "No worries, sister. As he said, it was a ritual between men and I shall return the favor." Fang Jingqi stared frantically in the direction where Hansen went. "In a few days, please invite him to dinner at home." "What?" Xueshi looked at Fang Jingqi and could not believe her own ears. Chapter 33, Polar Night Forum. Hansen didn't go far to hunt these days. He was on his own, so unless he went somewhere no one would go, it wasn't likely he could find mutant or sacred blood creatures before the gangs of Qin Xian, Son of Heaven or Fist Guy did. Hansen went on the Skynet and logged into a forum called Polar Night, whose members were people from different planets currently struggling in God's sanctuary. Here, people from the same shelter could exchange information and needs. Although the Alliance had a similar official site, it was much easier for people to go on Polar Night because all you needed was a username. On the official site, you'd need to register with your real identity. Not wanting anyone to know his identity, Hansen went to the section of steel armor shelter, where there were a lot of posts, roughly 1,000 or more per day. He went through the postings, most of which were buying or selling information, and then there was some recruiting information. For example, the rich would spend money to hire some people from the same shelter to protect or help the child. Recently, Hansen's luck had been poor. Not only couldn't he find any mutual creatures or sacred blood creatures, he also failed to gain any beast souls. So, he decided to work for money. Hansen browsed for a while and saw a job posting that paid well. He was surprised to see it was Lin Beifeng who posted it. Hansen hadn't seen him since the last time they met. It was unexpected that he had also posted in steel armor shelter. Lin Beifeng was not only recruiting good men, but also making offers for beast souls and mutant creature flesh. He wanted all the good things, and was willing to pay for them. People who answered his thread were mainly just onlookers. After all, the demands for mutant creature flesh and beast souls were so high that no one would sell easily. Hansen browsed a while and turned to other threads, and soon he found a satisfactory job. There were several young people who had just entered God's sanctuary hiring a skilled hunter to help them kill primitive creatures. The requirement was to be able to deal with 10 primitive creatures and protect them at the same time, alone. In a word, this was a babysitting job, watching these rookies fight primitive creatures and save them when they encountered danger. This job was not difficult, but quite troublesome. Generally speaking, the experienced would not take such a job. But these young men were paying well, 10,000 to protect them each day, and one contract was for at least half a month. Hansen sent a text message to the number they had left and didn't leave voicemail or send an image of himself. He didn't want his personal information to leak out, and that was why he had chosen Polar Night. He could have gone to the official site, where everything was regulated and protected by law, but he would need to sign the contract with his real identity. After a while, he received a reply, which said they had to see how well he could fight before deciding to hire him. Hansen had no problem with that and agreed to meet at a certain time and place in steel armor shelter. After agreeing to meet, Hansen did not close the window but continued to browse the trading section. After his bronze crescent spear was destroyed, he had wanted to hunt himself a weapon beast soul, but he had had no luck with a beast soul at all. Hansen wasn't trying to buy a weapon beast soul but a man-made alloy bow and arrow. Alpha alloy weapons could now easily kill primitive beasts, but not mutant creatures. They were not cheap either, and normally even more expensive than primitive beast souls. Hansen could use most of the weapons, but he had worked hard on archery since he had planned to hunt alone at a distance before he entered God's sanctuary. But he overlooked something. He couldn't afford any good bow and arrows, and without those, he couldn't even pierce the skin of any creature. Now he had earned some money and it would be possible for him to purchase an alloy bow and arrows. And he wanted to start hunting with archery. It was, after all, both a safe and powerful way of hunting. The most important thing was that, in God's sanctuary, only the one who launched the last hit had the chance to gain the beast soul. And archery must be among the top 3 methods when it came to the potential windfall. Archery required special training, so most people preferred swords and knives. There weren't many posts about selling a bow and arrows. Hansen was trying to save money, so he wanted to buy some second-hand goods. The alpha alloy bows all cost more than $1 million, which was too expensive for him. The silver lining was that due to the unpopularity of archery, there were not many competing buyers either. Hansen noticed a post from 7 days ago written by someone who was about to go to the second God's sanctuary and planned to sell all his belongings. All the stuff was sold except for an alloy bow and 6 alloy arrows. A bow from the Black Vader series and arrows from the Saber series. Hansen had practiced archery for a while and carefully studied all types of bows and arrows. To make weapons, the alloy didn't necessarily need to be the stiffest, because if it was too stiff, the edge could chip. However, stiff alloy didn't wear out easily. Bows and arrows were no exceptions. There were 3 types alloy used in a Black Vader bow. 2 were mixed to make the bow itself in order to guarantee its flexibility and stiffness at the same time. And the alloy used in making the string was even more special, its manufacturing methods monopolized by a few interstellar metal production companies. The Black Vader series was a classic series of alloy bows, and the prices were overwhelming. The cheapest one, Wanderer's Bow, cost $2 million, with no arrows or quiver included in the price.